The idea of a Pokemon region being the basis of an Ark map has been an idea I've had for yonks, for literally ever. And well, at first I didn't know how to make a map, and I did a challenge to learn how to make a map, and then in late November of last year, I started working on making this idea a reality. But what region would I pick? Which region should I make? And well, at first I could have gone with the OG, being Kanto, but then I remembered there's this massive section to the west side of the map called Johto, the region that started performing for me. And well, if I was just to do Kanto, I'd have to build that whole area as to make the map feel cohesive and not just an empty void. So that was a no to Kanto, and I didn't really want to build Johto and Kanto together, as that would require way more space of a map than what I had built. So we landed in the generation with too much water, as ING likes to say it, being the Hoenn region. And this is where the map Emerald Isles is based on. Now, I was planning to record the building section of making this map throughout the dev kit for Ark, but then I realized I probably would have needed a 20 terabyte hard drive or more, as I spent over 1,000 hours building this map, which is insane. But if you do want to see some of the building process, I will have a playlist in the description of some of the streams I did over the time working on this map with some of you guys live. But I did record some of the starting sections, so we can briefly go over how I started my journey to turning Hoenn into a full-blown Ark map. And then I'm going to take you on a tour through a similar path you would take when playing the Gen 3 games. So to get myself started, I had to find myself a map of the Hoenn region that kind of was a template for me to base the landscape on, and well, I decided to go with the map that you see here. That is the one you find when you're flying around on the Mega Latties in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, so it has a bit of depth and kinda can give me a bit more knowledge than the 2D maps that we normally see. So this gave me my basic outline of land masses and also basic locations to build ruins for towns or places to add caves of the map. But it wasn't the only thing I did. I did add an extra island to the map based on Faraway Island, where you find Mew in Pokemon Emerald, using a map from the anime. So up in the north east of the map is a new island that isn't normally spotted in Hoenn, but is technically part of Hoenn. It was just to fill up the space there, so it wasn't fully ocean. Like, it was a big area of ocean there. But with that all under the way, now let's load into the map and take an adventure through Emerald Isles, aka Hoenn. When loading into an Ark map, you will always have multiple spawn points, as you can see here on Emerald Isles, and I'm going to say a big shout out to Moon Maps for making this beautiful, gorgeous mini map for the map. It is absolutely stunning, and well, I'm going to be working on in the future for more projects, but we're going to start where you would normally start in a Pokemon adventure, aka Little Root Town. Now, due to this area being based off the starter town and where you get your starter Pokemon in your adventures in Gen 3, so I wanted to give it a bit of a little nod to those starter Pokemon by making custom spawns just for this area to match the starters of Gen 3, with a Glowtail being your Trico, a Dodo being your Torchic, and well, least light kind of creature right now, a Bulldog for Mudkip. It's just like a watery looking dog thing. I know Mudkip's like an amphibian looking thing, but I didn't really want to put a Diplocaulus there. It wouldn't fit with all the small boys, you know what I mean? So Bulldog. Now, one thing is, there are many areas that are part of Hoenn that we just don't get to explore in the Pokemon games. And this is what happens when you don't have an open world experience. And well, I'm making one because that's what Ark is about. So there's a bunch of areas like to the south of Little Tree where I've just had to take creative liberty by making either like foresty, grasslands, adding some extra detail, expanding little bits that we get to explore, just to give that cohesive open world feel. And well, if you keep going to the south, you get to the cliff here that looks down over Dewford Island and a couple other islands, but your main adventure takes you through the routes of the map. Now, the routes, I kind of just wanted to keep them very open. Some of them will have hints towards the route of that it's based on, with some cliff edges, maybe some grass in some certain areas, some trees in certain areas. But most of these places are very open, allowing you to flow through the map as best as you can. and this will lead you to Odell Town following Route 101 in the games, but this also hides the first of many Z plants. Now, Z plants, for you Pokemon fans, are plants that passively heal your creature when you're near it, and eventually it pops out a seed. For all you Ark players, you know how this is. But I placed them where you'd normally find Pokemon centers throughout the map. Now, there's a few that I have voided for creative reasoning, but you'll find it quite nice to be like, oh, I need to heal up my team, let me go to the Pokemon Center. It's not as instant as the Pokemon Center, but still you can heal up your team a little bit quicker. Next up, you'll head over to Petalburg City, one of the only other places that have these little townhousey hut things that I made. But then you head to like a distinctive area, being Petalburg Woods. Now, I really wanted to give off that dense foresty kind of high tree vibes that it does give, but also leaving that open path that we have when you explore it in the games on Pokemon, and that's what I kind of aim for. I'm still kind of tweaking it at the moment because I'm not gonna lie, foliage is a nightmare to place on the dev kit, but it also sometimes we get some foliage that doesn't want to work. Wildcard. With this area, I kind of gave it some unique spawns. Well, obviously, I wanted to make Megatherium spawn here due to this being the one place you get Slack off to get a Slacking, which is a sloth. Megatherium is a prehistoric sloth, so it just felt fitting to put a sloth in this forest. Now, this leads out to the giant lake that you go across before you make your way to Rustboro City, which is one of the biggest ruins in the map, and just to make it a bit of fun, I made it Cat City. I don't know why, it just felt funny. I just wanted to have cats in the city to run the city, alright? Now, normally you'd head to Route 116 and into Rustov Tunnel, which in my map that I copied of, the area it takes up is absolutely massive, and so I made this cave tunnel massive. And, well, it is a sight to see, and it has one singular creature spawn in it at the moment, being the Rollrat, as in the games you normally find Whisper here. And that's basically, I think you can find Zubats as well, which eventually, when we get the Desmodus in the game, this is going to be your main Desmodus spawn. And when I say this cave is absolutely huge, you can walk a giga from one end to the other without getting stuck. It's insane, it's a big ass tunnel, but it's epic, and it's now called Mushroom Tunnel because it's full with mushroom and crystal, but mushrooms. Now we normally backtrack a bit past the woods to the beach that you go find Pico, the little bird, and then you head over to Dewford. Now, I didn't put any ruins here as I felt like this place needed to feel like everything has washed away because everything was on the beach. It's gone. It's been destroyed, as the concept of this is very much a in the future, past human kind of dystopian version of Hoenn, where the creatures have taken over, and yeah. But this island also hides a cave, the Granite Cave, and well, I wanted this cave to be one of the 10 artifact caves within the map. Now, for you Pokemon fans, you get these things called artifacts, and you use them to face the bosses to get better stuff than use. It's a big old thing, but for you Ark fans, all the island artifacts are here to obtain. Now, with the layout of this map, I kind of wanted to give some nods to the cave that you do find in Pokemon, but I definitely took a lot of creative freedoms with this cave and every cave on the map, because what we see in the games is very much a 2D flat plane. I know Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire kind of half 3D, like it's like the world's 2.5D in my opinion. It's not open world 3D, it's just top down, same thing. Now, in the Pokemon game, you should normally head over to Slateport City, which is now just a haven for palm trees, and one little ruin for your Z plant healing. Now, I had to get a bike path in this, and so I made this massive bridge to represent the bike path. Now, there's normally a path underneath of it where you battle your rival, but instead of having that there, I made it sink into the ocean. And so now it's just collapsed into the ocean below. But also, near here, there's a hidden little ruin, in a nod to the Trick House, with a hidden maze cave that is also home to an artifact. But also, if you take a dip into the bay below the bike path, you also find the new Marvile power plant of the city has been flooded and is home to another artifact. This cave is probably one that I want to tweak a bit, maybe add some more detail to, as it was kind of the last one I made, and I was a bit confused on what I could do here because it is very much a tight quarters power plant, and I just want to have it like have tech generators and stuff to showcase. But I might tweak it, add some like hidden bat cave. Who knows? We'll get to that. But the main attraction of this area is definitely Marble City, the futuristic town in the Pokemon games, and well, I took all the Extinction City assets and made like a little mini city to explore. Nothing as big as the Extinction City, but still a notable sight to be found. Now, if you go to the west, you'll head Turf Town, which there are some ruins there with a nice dead plant. Also the entrance to the Rust-Off Tunnel from this end, or the Big Mushroom Tunnel. But normally you'd want to go north from here, up towards the desert biome, and well, I did not exclude it. We have a big desert, death worms for solar sucuses, everything. Now, the thing is, these high cliffs that are here, we don't see these in the games, but I'm just going off the map I used and made some really high deserty biome cliffs. But normally you don't get to go through the desert, you head over to Fiery Path, which is yet again another artifact cave, but you could take this tunnel to skip the desert if you want to. I don't know if it's safer. I'm gonna be honest, what I put in here, it might not be safer. Now, you'd normally take a ski lift to get up to the top of the map, or the top of the volcano, but that's gone. So I made a path near where you enter into Fiery Path that goes up where you would go up the lift to get to the top of the volcano, and this leads up to our giant volcanic biome, which is a cool place to get wyverns, place to get velos, and also the home to the red obelisk, where you'll face a boss inspired by the ruler of the land, Groudon. Now, I haven't forgotten about Lava Ridge Town, but it's a bit more grassy now, the hot springs are kind of dead, and it's just a nice little area to build, in my opinion. Now we start to reach an area I call Ash Falls, as in the Pokemon game, this area is known for the volcanic ash that comes off the grass, and well, I wanted to have that feel. It is also home to the Desert Cave, another home for an artifact, and if we keep following the path of the trader, we make it to Meteor Falls Cave, which is honestly one of my favourite caves I have made on this map, and for you Ark players, it is home to the Rock Drakes, and a nod to being the spot where you find Bagon, so I had to have some draconic creature replace Bagon in the sense here. Now we have seen Peterborough City, so let's head to Route 118 and 119 where there is a giant river. Now this is called Emerald River here, and it has two bridges to cross, kind of taking a nod to the bridges that we cross it in the games. Then we head up to Fortree City in the north, which is a city in a bunch of trees. Now I've left some platforms here as a nod to that, but that is left of it. And this area was perfect for that redwoods type biome. Now we could head down south towards the Safari Zone, which normally is a place to find Pokemon you don't normally find in the world of the Hoenn region. But I decided it would be a perfect place for a swamp. The Safari Swamp, indeed. And you'll find some oversized dragonflies here for sure. Now we reach Mount Pyre, the graveyard of the region, and well, it became a graveyard cave and home to an artifact. Get your jumping shoes on. Lily Cove really became just one ruin. Sorry, I did not want to build the big old department store as a ruin. I just didn't. It's all gone now. Now your adventure leads you into the ocean in the Pokemon regions, and well, the ocean itself, we don't get to see much inside the ocean when it comes to the actual map. There are a few dive spots, but really it's just a bunch of underwater seaweed that you can get stuff, and then some caves can be found that way. But I did have to take a nod to the cave that takes you to Sutopolis City, and well, you can swim your way into here and make your way to Sutopolis. It is an absolute great freaking visual. I love it. I had to keep that underwater tunnel, but give it its own feel. Now, Sutopolis City is also, or Origin Island as I'm calling it, it's also home to the Origin Cave, which is another artifact cave. Now, I didn't forget about Mos Deep City, which is now just a carnivorous island. There's just carnivores here ready to murder your face. And just north of that, we have Shoal Cave, which will be having you freezing your toes off and wondering where the heck I have hidden the artifact. This cave is absolutely dirt, and I'm sorry. Not sorry. Not sorry at all. Now to the north of that, we have Faraway Island, and well, this is the only place to get a few unique creatures from Ark, including one Meguana. But now we head south, and close by to Sutopolis City is Sky Pillar, home to the Green Obelisk, and where you'll face a draconic boss inspired by Rayquaza. When it's ready. The bosses aren't ready yet. That creature mounting, I'm still learning. Now, Pacific Logtown has now sunken to the seafloor. As there's no one to maintain it, it is now just sunken there, looking all pretty amongst some rocks. The sunken ship that we remember as Sea Marvile is now home to Blue Orb, and where you will face a Sea Leviathan, inspired by Kyogre, and will be the first boss coming to the map, hopefully in the next couple of weeks / next month. And well, the final island that you normally end your journey with happens to be the one that holds the Pokemon League and Victory Road, which is now one massive cave that does hold an artifact, but the cherry on top is the Pokemon League is now a battle arena in nod of the Dingle Cup seasons I make with my buddy Rasclark, and home to the 5th season, and the first episode is out now over on Rasclark's channel, so go check that out. Now, there are many other islands around the southern part of the map. That could be Southern Island, where you find the Battle Frontier, and these have just been given a nice little area to explore, a bit of creative freedom, and just me making a cool island. And that is Emerald Isles, all ready for you to explore on Ark Survival Ascended. And now, if you want to host a server to play with your friends on the map, use my link in the description, as it helps me out make more maps and content and stuff for you guys. And when you go ahead and do this, when you add a mod map to your server, you want to head to this section here and make sure to put in Emerald Isles _WP. That's a capital E for Emerald, capital I for Isles, and the WP is capitals. I'll probably just put a snippet on here so you can see it. And of course, I will be hosting some servers on this, so make sure to join my Discord. Get yourself into that whitelist, as the PvE server should be coming out sometime next week. But as I said, it's just not the map. We do have some custom bosses based on the Weather True incoming, and they will have a tameable version for you to obtain after you beat them. There's also a community voted creature that I did with my Discord called the Forest Lindworm coming as well. So please leave a like if you're planning to give this map a go, and if we break, let's say, 10k likes, I will remake another Pokemon region. If we break 20k likes, I'll just put them all together in one big massive map. Hope you enjoyed. Bye!